actor has to be in charge of their choices, don't they? I mean, it's the actors listening that's generating the impulses to respond, and it's the actor's understanding of the circumstances and relationships that enables them to make logical choices. And it's the actor's understanding and clarity about their purpose in any conversation that drives those impulses and choices. So being in charge, taking ownership is crucial, isn't it? But it's also sometimes quite challenging because directors can sometimes have strident and determined voices, and you might be intimidated if you're playing opposite, an established or well-known actor. And sometimes even actors with less skill level, but are very determined about the way things should be, and are very vocal about pushing that point of view probably because they are too scared to be open to anything else. They've only got one plan to follow. And that can be difficult to deal with. And if you allow those people to take charge, then your performance is the one that's going to suffer, because surely it has to be your understanding, because it's your mind you are using and your listening that's driving the choices, and your understanding of the world even, that's allowing you to be logical and rational and complex. So being in charge is essential, and that's why I'm offering you the 7th smart question to ask a director or a casting director. This is number 7 of 8 in this 27th Talking Acting. What we're trying to do with these questions, with these smart questions, is to clarify the choices that the actor needs to make in a scene. And one assumes that if you need to clarify, it's because you're not yet clear and there's some level of confusion. So the 7th smart question is, who do you think is driving the conversation in this scene? And the answer to that question should, hopefully, clarify a confusion, because maybe you thought that it's the protagonist who's driving the conversation, and it is their story after all. And if you're a minor character, then you're seeing yourself in that role in this conversation. But the director might be saying, no, it's not the protagonist that's driving the conversation. It's your character who's creating the difficulty that the protagonist has to face, and therefore you are driving the conversation. And if that's the case, you might have to abandon thoughts of avoiding or denying that this conversation is happening. You might have to change gears to making it a battle for control or a challenge to the protagonist. And under those circumstances, you also need to make yourself aware that you are the instigator of this conversation and not the responder as you had previously thought. And so when you come to understand those things, then you can be clear about the choices that you're going to make, and therefore the performance you're going to offer. But it is possible that with any of these smart questions, that none of them are guaranteed to give you the clear outcome that you're hoping for. So it is possible that even though you've asked a very smart question, you haven't got a clear answer yet, and that you therefore might have to ask another question. Find another path, if you like, to elucidate an answer that makes sense to you. What I wouldn't do is I wouldn't combine two questions into one to achieve that end. Because if you do, most likely you're ending up with a complicated question and you get a complicated answer, and you therefore haven't achieved the clarity that you're looking for. So my suggestion would be, except under unusual circumstances, don't combine them. Keep your questions simple and to one point so that you get a clear and simple answer. And you might, in fact, even after that, just reach the point where you've got to make a decision and jump in and offer a performance, because it's not necessarily so that every time the discussion, the talk, is going to bring the answers that you're looking for, and in which case you can't talk forever. And being too talkative is not sort of a helpful view that you want to present to a casting director or a director anyway. So, make a choice. Make an offer. Enjoy the ride and see what happens, because if you've put yourself in charge, the outcome should be a good performance, even if it's not exactly what they're looking for. And that's not a bad outcome. I'll be back next week with the 8th Smart Question. See you then. If you have a question about this unique approach to acting process, you can email me, richard@rehearsalroom.com, or download the ebook. It's free too.